Crows are among the most intelligent creatures in the world. They can recognize themselves in the mirror. They have complex social interactions and emotions. In this video, we're going to explore why crows hold funerals, what happens during these strange gatherings, and how scientists think such behaviors evolved over time. But before we get into it, remember to hit that like button for more videos about nature's weird and wonderful creatures. Although some may think of them as sinister omens or symbols of death, crows actually play a vital role in our ecosystem. They're nature's recyclers, feeding on dead animals and plants and distributing their nutrients back into the environment. When a crow dies, its body starts to decompose almost immediately. Within 24 hours, the skin begins to discolor and bloat, and within 2 days, the carcass will start to smell. This creates an unpleasant environment for the surviving crows, so they need to do something about it. And that's where funeral behavior comes in. The first recorded observation of crows holding funerals came from an Italian ornithologist named Giovanni Battista Grassi in 1894. Since then, researchers have witnessed hundreds of crows performing this bizarre ritual. But there was still a lot that scientists did and understand about the funeral until 2007, when a primatologist at the University of Alberta, PhD, decided to investigate. PhD. And her team spent nearly 3 years observing a colony of crows in central Alberta, recording the frequency of funeral behavior and the types of calls that the crows made during these events. What she found was nothing short of fascinating. The research showed that funeral behavior occurs across all ages and sexes and is unreserved for close relatives only. In fact, even crows with no prior relationship will come together to engage in this strange ritual. But what exactly does a crow funeral look like? These birds would gather around the deceased and engage in a variety of vocalizations, including a low croaking call and a high-pitched thin call that resembled a whistle. The team also noticed other interesting behaviors during the course of their study. For example, they observed instances of crows carrying sticks, stones, and other objects in their beaks, which they would then drop onto the ground next to the dead bird. So they turned their attention to another group of highly intelligent birds, gray parrots. Parrots are known for their ability to mimic human speech and sounds, but they also communicate with each other through a variety of vocalizations. But in captivity, parrot vocalizations are much easier to record and analyze. So the team began playing recordings of the crow's calls to a group of gray parrots and observed their reactions. They found that the parrots responded to the low croaking call by bowing their heads and crouching down, behaviors that are typically displayed when they're mourning the loss of a flockmate. They also played the high-pitched whistle call to the parrots, which resulted in the birds looking around and making distressed noise. These responses provided valuable insight into the meaning behind the crow's calls. The croaking call was likely a way for the crows to express their grief and mourn the loss of their flockmate. Meanwhile, the high-pitched whistle was probably used to alert the other birds to the presence of a dead body and warn them of potential danger. This is supported by previous research showing that crows are more likely to gather around a dead body if it's surrounded by other crows. Basically, the more the merrier when it comes to crow funerals. But why do they do this? There are a few theories to explain this behavior, but they all boil down to one thing: learning. Crows are highly social creatures who rely on their flocks for food, shelter, and safety. When a member of their flock dies, it's important for the remaining birds to learn that the body is no longer a threat. After all, a live crow may bite back if you try to eat it, but a dead one won't. By coming together and mourning the loss of a flockmate, crows may be reinforcing their social bonds and creating new ones. This is thought to help maintain the group's cohesion and strengthen the bonds between the remaining members. Now let's take a moment to appreciate the irony of this situation. We humans have long been fascinated by death and have gone to great lengths to understand it. We've built elaborate machines to peer into the subatomic world and search for answers. We've sent probes to far-off planets to see if life exists elsewhere in the universe. But maybe all along we've been searching in the wrong places. Maybe the secrets of death and the afterlife are hidden in plain sight. All we can do is keep searching for answers. But in the meantime, we can take comfort in the knowledge that we're not alone in our grief. There are other creatures out there who feel the same pain of loss that we do. They too are searching for a way to make sense of it all. So the next time you hear the mournful cry of a crow, take a moment to pause and listen. You never know what secrets it might be sharing with you. Speaking of sharing secrets, I have one for you. The team noticed that some crows would pick up small objects such as sticks, stones, and even feathers and drop them near the dead body. At first, they thought that the crows were trying to bury the body, but they quickly ruled this out. After all, crows don't typically eat carrion that's been exposed to the elements for more than a day, so burying it wouldn't really serve much purpose. Well, the team had a hunch that it might have something to do with the crow's habit of catching food. Catching is when animals hide food in various locations for later consumption. It's a common behavior in many species, including crows. And it makes sense. If you find a nice juicy worm, you'd probably want to save it for later, so you can enjoy it all to yourself. That's why the team decided to conduct a little experiment. They placed a dead mouse near a group of crows, and then hid some pieces of bread nearby. Then they waited to see what the crows would do. To their surprise, the crows didn't go straight for the mouse. Instead, they started picking up pieces of bread and dropping them near the dead animal. It was almost as if they were trying to feed the dead mouse. But what's the point of that? Well, the team thinks that the crows were trying to transform the dead mouse into cached food. In other words, they were trying to trick their brains into thinking that the dead mouse was just a regular old piece of food that they could cache like any other. This behavior has been dubbed behavioral modification, and it is thought to be a way for crows to deal with the stress of encountering a dead body. By treating the dead body like a piece of food, the crows are able to reduce their own anxiety and focus on finding actual food to eat. This behavior has also been observed in other animals, such as scrub jays and hooded crows. So it seems that behavioral modification may be a common response to the stress of dealing with a dead body. So there you have it. The next time you see a group of crows gathered around a dead body, just remember that they're not just morbidly curious. They're intelligent creatures trying to cope with the loss of a loved one. And who knows, maybe they'll even teach us a thing or two about how to deal with our own grief. Thanks for watching. See you next time.